Marvel really writes the playbook when it comes to making blockbusters, right? End credit scenes, melding other genres with comic book movies, etc., etc. Well, I am so happy to see the DCEU get a play in the handbook. And what I'm talking about is shooting sequences of your movie intentionally in the middle of a crowded city and making absolutely no effort to hide it from everyone around you, so that they take lots of pictures and spread it on social media. It worked for Suicide Squad, and now it's working. It's just as effective for Wonder Woman, although I suspect there will be much better results. But don't count Suicide Squad out just yet. They have, well, they're not quite sure how they're going to continue or build on it, but they have a lot of options that they're considering. But we're talking about Wonder Woman today, and you know, I think that this very public display has done a lot along with the Aquaman images to make people feel, you know, it's a splashy pivot away from Justice League. You have new leadership with Walter Hamada, and I think that, you know, actions speak louder than words, and there's some pretty nice action on display, right? We're going to talk about some of the action that we've seen, you know, taking place over the past few days on set. But I think that this works and gets fans excited because today fandom, you know, is very savvy. You guys are very smart, right? You know when a studio is pandering to you or is desperate for your attention. And no one likes it when someone's just desperate, right? That's a real turnoff. But here, I would say this is the equivalent of knowing that you look fabulous, but, you know, acting as if you have no idea. And that, you know, that's effective and it's working quite well here. I think, make no mistake, this was intentional on the part of Warner Brothers and DC to schedule this very public outdoor shoot right at the beginning of production. You know, Wonder Woman began filming. You know, they often shoot location first and then move to the sound stages, but still, you know, for instance, you might recall when Winter Soldier was filming, although we got a lot of good shots there. But still, they would have someone, an intern walking around with a sign saying, please don't take photos of our movie because you're giving stuff away. And over the past couple of days, I too have been a little bit like, don't give the whole movie away, DC. You know, it's looking good, but I don't want to see too much. But, you know, you're seeing very much of the same kind of thing, and I think that's also intentional. So this is orchestrated, and I think it's so, again, so effective that I think that not just DC should continue to do this, but I think every blockbuster movie should have like one, or a couple of scenes that they shoot very publicly outdoors as a gift for the fans. You know, it was great. This has allowed us to celebrate the beginning of production as well, and I think that's, again, really, really, it's nice and very effective from a business perspective. And also, I think that as soon as they finish shooting the DC stuff, get it? Washington, D.C. They, in fact, had like a pop-up exhibit there in D.C. recently for DC Comics. But I think you're going to see them disappear inside, and you actually won't see that much. Because think about Suicide Squad. We kept seeing all that stuff about them walking out in public. It was all very visible, you know, and some of the stuff with Harley and Joker, and then we didn't see anything until they started to reveal stuff from the trailer. And, you know, I think Comic-Con, Warner Brothers is going to go big. They have Aquaman, they have Shazam, and of course now they have Wonder Woman 1984. So after a couple of great shots of Steve and Diana in their civilian getups, I love the fanny pack so much. And interestingly, fanny packs are kind of making a comeback even now amongst, you know, the general public. So it turns out that Wonder Woman 1984 is ahead of the fashion curve, right? But the last couple of days have been all about what seems to be some sort of protest that comes under attack, which is a fitting setting for Wonder Woman, by the way, who is no stranger to standing up for what's right. She likely loves how more politically active humans are becoming, questioning things more and more, as she has always done. Much to the it was annoying to the Amazons, just as it's annoying probably to the U.S. government. Hippolyta is like, tell me about it. She won't stop asking questions. But I think that's great. One of my favorite scenes in the first movie with Wonder Woman was when she confronts the general about not being on the battlefield with his armies, yet sending them into danger. I was like, oh yeah, I say that all the time. You go, Wonder Woman. I mean, it was just absolutely wonderful. I want to talk about my favorite shots from this action sequence that have come out over the last few days, and then we'll talk about this new costume, because I have a little something that I'm concerned about, and we'll get to that in just a moment. But my favorite shots, well, first off, some of you were like, is she riding the invisible jet, you know, in this image? And it kind of looks like she does at first glance. And I got very nervous. I was like, why not give her that talking tiger that Michelle MacLaren wanted to give to her, right? I mean, I just think it's jumping the tiger, right, so to speak. But then I was looking at this video of her running, and I had seen it when it first made the rounds, and I was like, she is going so fast. How is she going so fast? Is she being pulled somehow? But I don't see her on top of any kind of track or anything. And then I realized that that's what that harness is for. It's not only lifting her up in the air, as you can see in this other photo, but it's pulling her along so that she can run at that speed. And I think that's fabulous. She should totally race Barry and Cal. I want to see that. Although, on the other hand, they might be like, can everybody on this team run fast? I guess except Batman, but he'll just hop in the Batmobile. Because, Aquaman can swim fast. Very speedy group. And, and Barry's like, that's all I've got. But anyway, he's also got a wicked sense of humor. Well, hopefully, I think it's a little cringe from Justice League, but hopefully in this Back to the Future style Flashpoint movie they're thinking of making, it'll be as good as I think we all know it can be. Because Ezra Miller is very talented. I think that's an important thing to remember. But I love doing an action sequence like this with her running quickly on location with a harness and her running in place, basically. And boy, does she doesn't look like she's in particularly good shape, and that's one of the things we're going to talk about. Well, she looks fit, but she doesn't look muscular, but she must be pretty strong to be able to do this and do it so well. Unless that from far away that's a stunt double for the faraway shot. But whoever's doing that has like amazing muscle control. It's very impressive. But they could have easily done this with a green screen. So I think that's so great because that was one of the main criticisms leveled at the first Wonder Woman movie with that third act in particular. So I think it's wonderful they're listening to notes, taking our criticism seriously and being like, okay, how can we make it better? We can do more practical stuff on location and make it look more real and, actually get Gall in there on set for the close-ups, etc., or a stunt woman for the far away. And I think it's going to make a huge difference. It's going to be really great. Now, there are a couple scratches here that some of you pointed out, and you said maybe this was Cheetah. But if it was Cheetah, we would have seen Cheetah. Because, on the one hand, you might be like, is Cheetah going to be totally CGI? But if they're doing the running as realistically as possible and as practical as possible, let's go for some Stan Winston type makeup with Kristen Wiig. That would be, and Kristen Wiig is certainly very expressive, and I think that would not only be something new and exciting, but I think it would get the movie a lot of respect, not only from fans, but from the industry. And also, I believe in American Werewolf in, that's actually really interesting. Oh my God. I believe American Werewolf in, London came out around that time period. It's, of course, famous for its visual effects, and they're doing a lot of pop culture references in this movie. So maybe that's partially, wow, that would be great. That's really smart. Oh, if this movie can really operate at this many levels, and it seems like it is, I'm going to be like, if you guys, you're going to have to work hard to find something wrong with this movie. I mean, you have to at least respect its ambition, and I'd be curious to hear your thoughts about that down below. So I think that's not Cheetah. I think she's just genuinely injured with whatever's going on here. I also love this shot with the Capitol behind her. I think it's so powerful. Diana and government, of course, kind of like Roman and Greek mythology and everything always heavily factors into government buildings. Of course, it's like history is always referenced as well in monuments and buildings. Wonder Woman, Diana living, being ageless to a degree, living through all these different periods. I think it's a really good match with her. And also, she's incredibly civic-minded. So it's a great location for her besides just the DC thing. And then, of course, she's going to bring the lightning, as she always does when she hovers like that. Fly, damn it, fly! Why doesn't she practice the flying? She saw Ares fly. Come on, right? I'd be like, how can I do that? But I also think it's hilarious they're using a Diva ring light to light her up there. That's called a beauty light. And I think it's great they're even starting to use them on movies, particularly with such a strikingly beautiful heroine. Now, speaking of beauty, I have mixed feelings with Wonder Woman's new look. I think that you guys are right. They have actually brightened the colors on her costume. I thought it was mostly attributable to lighting. But by brightening the costume and making it more reflective and then lighting it up in addition, she really pops, right? But with brighter colors and what seems like a slimmer, less muscular Gall, and gorgeous curls, by the way, her hair is amazing, she really looks like a human Barbie doll, dressed up like Wonder Woman. When they're like, Barbie is Wonder Woman, you're like, oh, I don't actually think that's Wonder Woman, that's Barbie, paying homage to Wonder Woman. And so I worry that she, some degree, looks a little bit more like she's dressed up as a warrior than an authentic warrior, as she did very much in the first movie. And there was a lot of criticism when she was first cast, Gal Gadot, about not being muscular enough, and I would hate to see that criticism return, and even worse, have merit. I know she works out very hard, but and I also believe she was pregnant for some of the reshoots for the first film, her first solo movie. But but she just looks a lot like a Barbie doll. And that could work, but it could also not work. They're skating a very thin line, and it's going to be tough to pull off for even the most talented group of people, which of course we have here. One key element that makes me feel a little bit better is that her makeup is played down. It's softer, very natural, and I think that's a good choice. Barbie always goes for very strong makeup, and so that's a plus that makes her look less doll-like. And the running also gives me hope, because if they can balance this more glammed up look with really amazing action sequences, which, by the way, the first movie was light on action. That was another, I hope they've listened to that criticism as well. That'll make a big difference. Like if she looks kind of like Barbie, but she moves like Wonder Woman, has some amazing Wonder Woman action sequences, I think we'll be okay with it. And maybe it'll expand the audience even further. I mean, the first movie made over 800 million globally, but we know it can do better. We would like to see the second one get into the $1 billion club, and maybe having even more female appeal or sex appeal would help with that. But she has to be taken seriously, because Gal Gadot looks amazing. Her chemistry with Chris Pine is off the charts. He looks like he's doing a fantastic job already. So I can see the temptation to do another 80s movie, a Romancing the Stone type of film. But this needs to hold up as a comic book movie, a comic book action movie. It can't be a parody or a spin on that. It has to be a comic book movie first. And you might say, well, they're doing like The Winter Soldier. They're mixing in that other genre with comic book movies. Well, that's fine, but that's a really light genre that isn't taken as seriously and doesn't fit at all with the audience that you need to like comic book movies and respect them and not troll them. Like a political thriller is a good fit with that audience. And they're like, I'd love to see a political thriller comic book movie. But if someone says, how'd you like to see like a romance comic book movie? And I think then you start to maybe lose people. So they have to be really careful. I want Wonder Woman, just as she has so far, this version of her, to seem like an authentic comic book hero, not the girls' version. That's so important. And they're taking a lot from the television show, which also aired at this period. The civilian clothes, and many of you have pointed out to me, I think that's great, or an homage to that. But that version of Wonder Woman looked a lot like a doll, not at all serious as an action heroine. She was more of a symbol. And that worked. That's respected for what it was. But, today, you're not going to get what you need if you don't have that element. So, again, I have faith in this creative team, and I can't wait to see more. I wonder how much they'll let us see before they, again, retreat behind an iron curtain. All right, so what do you guys think? Write your thoughts down below. And, of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.